3 p.m. this Saturday, Newcastle United travel to Brentford, looking to continue their impressive performance against Liverpool. Now, before we get on the Brentford game, I want to speak about that Liverpool game because that is exactly what we want from Newcastle United. That intensity, that quality in possession, directness to punish the opposition. It was just a wonderful game of football. Both teams looking to win the game. There was 6 goals scored. There was big chances created. There was mistakes. There was penalty shouts. That game had everything. It reminded me of a throwback from the early 2000s. But I want to speak about 2 top performers, in my opinion, for Newcastle United, and that was Bruno Guimaraes and Alexander Isak. I thought those 2 were absolutely tremendous. Going into this game, Liverpool had only conceded 8 goals in 13 games, so that just goes to show they don't give you a sniff, and they're defensively absolutely solid. And I thought Alexander Isak was magnificent, especially against Virgil van Dijk. You've got to think he's coming into this game high in confidence and a player in form, and Alexander Isak made it extremely difficult for him. And I think we've got to do something similar against Brentford, and I'll get on that very shortly. But I want to touch upon where our goal came from. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I made a video about what went wrong at Newcastle. Now, take a look at this image. I did try and put the whole video up, but it got taken down for copyright, so I took a screenshot. We'll revert to a back 3 in possession. We did this so many times last season. And then Bruno was at receiver in midfield. Look at him just creating that angle to receive the ball. He receives the ball on the half turn. And what's he do? Pick out Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak gets a thunderbolt off into the top corner. Newcastle go 1-0 up. Now, the reason why going to a back 3 is so important in this sort of sequence is one fullback gets high and wide. What does that do? It stretches the opposition's backline so they can't be as compact. What does that do? It opens up gaps, channels for Isak to run into. One of Isak's biggest qualities is his movement. So everybody needs to play their part in making space for Alexander Isak to move into. Now, I'm not saying we're just a team built around Alexander Isak, but you played everybody's strengths, and this is exactly how you get the best out of Alexander Isak, by giving him room to move into, because he is so difficult to stop when he builds up momentum. And that's the beauty about Alexander Isak, right? And I just thought our intensity on the day, our aggression, our sharpness in and out of possession was absolutely on point. And look, Liverpool came to play. They played their part in what was a magnificent game of football. And I kind of feel like with Newcastle, when other teams are aggressive against us, it ups our level. Now, what this game's done is set a standard for Newcastle United. Now, the argument is, can we do that week in, week out? There's going to be games, granted, where you're just not getting the rub of the green and you can't get into your flow, which I understand that happens. But we don't need that to happen often, because when Newcastle bring that intensity, bring that aggression, other teams don't know how to cope with it. And this is why I said it was important to bring Joe Linton back into midfield, because I think his presence, his aggression, his physicality is very important, because when he moved out on the left, it looked like at times we were getting overrun. And with him in that midfield block, it allows Tonali, Bruno to express himself a little bit more, because I think his profile complements Tonali and Bruno. And I still think we haven't seen the best of Tonali yet. Now, I know Bruno played as a number 8, and I actually think he's best as a number 8. I'm not saying playing him as a 6. However, in those little sequences, can we allow Bruno to drop in and pick up the ball? Because I think his vision and execution of weight of pass from deep is really impressive, and that's how Newcastle can be direct. We are one of the most direct teams in the Premier League, and that's a good thing. And when we are direct, the opponents just can't cope with it. So without further ado, let's get on to the game on Saturday. So what do we expect from Brentford? Let's have a quick discussion about Brentford. Well, they're quite tactically flexible in their formation. Sometimes they're set up in a 4-3-3. Sometimes, like we're seeing on the weekend, they're set up in a 4-2-3-1. Now, this is going to be an extremely difficult game. Brentford is a really tough place to go and win. They're actually sitting top of the home form table with 7 games, 6 wins, 1 draw, 22 goals scored at home this season. The next behind them is 17, and that's Tottenham. And they've only conceded 12 goals at home. home. From an attacking point of view, what I expect from Brentford, well, I actually really enjoy watching Brentford. They're so direct. They utilise their strength. What are their strengths? Pace and power. Brentford aren't a pressing team, so what they do is they sit back, allow teams to come onto them, and that opens a door for what they're very good at, and that's countering at speed. You've got Wissa, who's their link-up body, who finds pockets of space, linking up play, and then you've got Kevin Shorter and Mbuemo who attack inside channels. Their fullbacks get high and wide, and you'll almost see them attacking in a front five. Funny enough, this image was against Newcastle last season. From a Newcastle perspective, I would actually set up exactly how we did against Liverpool. I would keep Joe Linton in the middle of the park. I would start with Murphy out on the right, Gordon out on the left, Alexander Isak as a centre forward. I would literally make no changes because we need to continue this momentum. We need to continue this intensity. And this squad delivered against Liverpool, so why can't they deliver against Brentford on the weekend? Now, we're much more of a pressing team than Brentford, so we need to be wary of their directness. However, they do occasionally play out from the back, and they're not so great at it, so we need to pressurise them. We need to be high, aggressive, out of possession to win the ball back early, and therefore we'll have a higher chance of scoring. Now, in possession, Alexander Isak's movement's going to be absolutely key because they push their fullbacks high and wide, so their space is in the outside channels. Let's use that to our advantage. Isak, like I always say, his best attribute, although he's got unbelievable quality in possession, his best attribute is finding space, being aggressive with his runs, and use that to our advantage. Why not open up the channels and allow Isak to get through? Because we've seen it happen multiple times against Liverpool, so we need to use the same similar tactics against Brentford. But the thing is, Newcastle are capable of a performance like we're seeing against Crystal Palace. I was literally sitting there thinking, what is this? What is this? Now, what Newcastle are absolutely brilliant at offensively is rotations. Now, we need to see a lot of this and more of this. When Alexander Isak drops deep to receive the play, which he's very good at, let's get bodies attacking space and behind. Runners coming off Alexander Isak. That's what Newcastle were brilliant at last season. We've come away from that a little bit this season, and against Liverpool, we brought it back. Coincidentally, we had a magnificent performance. What Newcastle was so good at last season is creating a numerical advantage in the final third. Alexander Isak would drop deep, and this allows him to link up effectively with midfielders or oncoming runners. And this image shows exactly what I mean about the numerical advantages in the final third. You can see Newcastle's aggressive approach offensively. Literally, they were attacking with 5 bodies up front. This is quite similar to what Brentford do, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this end in 3-3 or another basketball-like game. But this is what I was talking about. This image identifies it clearly. Newcastle reverting to a back 3. You have one receiver in the middle of the pitch, which is Bruno, and you have pretty much 5 attacking options. This creates overloads in the final third, and the opposition just don't know how to cope with it, because if they drop back, it allows people to drop inside the pockets and receive the ball, or if they try and press up high, it just literally allows Newcastle to exploit space in behind. It's a wonderful tactic by Eddie Howe. We'll come away from it at the beginning of the season when we started playing Joe Linton out on the left. I understand why he did it, because we had injuries. But once we get we're starting 11 back, we will see Newcastle United of last season. So my prediction of this game, my heart's telling us a Newcastle win, but my head's telling us otherwise. But I'm going to stick with my heart. You've got to back the boys. I'm going to go Brentford 1, Newcastle 2 to hand them their first home defeat of the season. But I wouldn't be surprised if this ended in 2-2. But I would love to hear your predictions. Drop me your score prediction, because like I say, when we're on it, we're so pleasing to watch. But it's up to Eddie Howe to bring out this consistency in performances, and I'm expecting to see a complete different Newcastle what we're seeing against Crystal Palace. So drop us a comment in the below. What do you make of this game? What do you expect? And most importantly, what are your predictions? Because I would love to hear them. But again, I just want to appreciate your time for watching. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Away the lads.